call this Port Colborne City Council meeting to order. If you're able, please rise for our national anthem, followed by our land acknowledgement.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The Niagara region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations such as the Hattaway-Wendourok, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Port Colborne stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thought it was on. We have one amendment to the agenda this evening. We have the addition of report 2025-187, the Veterans Crosswalk, which will be item 11.3D under staff reports. If I could have councillors Bodner and Hoyle move that the council agenda dated September 9th, 2025 be confirmed as amended. Any changes in the agenda additions? All in favor? That's carried. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? Okay. We have one proclamation this evening. And before I go to the motion, if I could have Councillor Bodner, he'd like to say a few words with regards to what we're going to be putting forward as September is Charcot-Marie Tooth, called CMT disease. Councillor Bodner.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, would it be okay if I read that proclamation?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Whereas September is Charcot-Marie Tooth CMT disease awareness month, and whereas CMT disease is named after the three doctors who first described the disease in 1886. Doctors Jean Martin Charcot, Pierre Marie, and Howard Henry Tooth. Today, CMT refers to any peripheral neuropathy with a genetic cause, whether or not the specific genetic mutation is known. And whereas CMT is a rare, multi-system, multi-organ disease that causes lifelong progressive symptoms, including muscle weakness and atrophy in the arms and legs, sensory loss, and other complications. These symptoms often lead to challenges with balance, walking, hand use, and other daily activities. And whereas CMT affects 1 in 2,500 people, CMT is a rare disease, but also the most common inheritable peripheral neuropathy. It is inheritable because the genetic mutations that cause CMT can be passed from parents to children. And the mayor will proclaim this month as Charcot-Marie Tooth Awareness Month in the city of Port Colborne. Whether you live with CMT or love someone who does, you can make a difference this month by helping spread awareness, supporting vital research, and empowering others to live boldly. And you will notice we are doing this proclamation differently from our usual routine. I appreciate the mayor allowing me to read this because I have CMT. And it is a disease you don't hear about, maybe you never heard about, but it is more common than you think. I just heard of one other family in Port Colborne that has it. So as the kids start school, and you might see a little kid, because babies can get it also, you can be born with it, that has braces on their legs or something, could be CMT. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor. And if I could have Councillor Bodnar and Councillor Bagu move, now therefore I, Mayor William C. Steele, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2025 as Charcot Marie Tooth CMT Awareness Month in the city of Port Colborne. Questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Again, thank you, Councillor Bodnar. This evening we have 3 presentations. The first 2 I'll do from the podium. We have the Isidore Sponder Award presentation and the Grant Award presentation. I'll call the councillors up on the second one, but I'm going to go up and do the Isidore Sponder first. "100 years ago, marathon swimmers were celebrated on the front pages of newspapers around the world. Starting in 1927, marathon swimmers from around the world came to the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto to compete in the Professional Swim Championship of the World, a distance of 34 kilometers, back then 21 miles. In the 4 times he participated between 1927, when he was just 15 years old, and 1933, when he was 21, Isidore Sponder of Port Colborne finished in the top 3 in the world. He was a local sports hero. Isidore was one of the first inductees of our Sports Wall of Fame. When Isidore returned to Port Colborne after his marathon swim in 1933, he was welcomed by hundreds of cheering fans. There were so many people, then Mayor W.H. Smith closed Clarence Street between King and the canal to all vehicular traffic. And I'm sure a few horses in those days. There were speeches by mayor and council and armfuls of gifts from local businesses. For Isidore Sponder, the fanfare was amazing, but it was about the sport, the commitment, and the spirit of camaraderie among all the competitors. Isidore Sponder was a kind, thoughtful, dedicated athlete who always gave his all. And Mr. Sponder was 74 when he passed in December of 1986. In his memory, because he swam every day in the Centennial Pool, his family paid for a lift for handicapped swimmers and dedicated it to the people of Port Colborne. When the Centennial Pool was decommissioned and the new pool opened in the Valley Centre 11 years ago in 2013, the Sponder family wanted to ensure Isidore's memory lived on. In that spirit, the Isidore Sponder Memorial Trophy was established. The trophy was awarded to a member of the Port Colborne swim team, the Piranhas, who best reflects the same values he did: a competitive and encouraging spirit, dedication to the sport, and always giving 110%. Sponder Trophy recipients are chosen by Coach Jennifer Lohr, now in her 34th year as swimming coach. She chooses for their abilities in the pool, but more than that, she chooses for their character, their kindness, their support of others, and their commitment to swimming. Before we call upon Coach Lohr, and also this evening, we have Fred Horvath, a family member. We'll ask them to come up. And Fred is the nephew of the late Isidore Sponder. So in honor of his uncle, Mr. Horvath has attended almost every presentation of the Isidore Sponder Memorial Trophy. He's driven all the way from his home in Newcastle to meet the recipient every year, and he was the Director of Operations for the municipality of Clarington until he retired in 2020. So he's really got a feeling for what's going on here this evening. So if I could have Coach Lohr and Mr. Horvath come on up. How about Fred, you want to go first?
Sure.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you very much for doing this once again. Just trying to figure out Horvath and Sponder. My mom was a Sponder, so that's how I'm involved in all this. I was saying to the recipient's family, only got to meet Isidore once, and it was probably in his early 70s, and I didn't know much about him. Didn't know that he was a marathon swimmer. We knew he was famous. That's what our parents told us, he was famous, but that's all we knew. Well, since this award started, I've been looking up all kinds of stuff. And as the mayor indicated, he was quite successful marathon swim back in the 1920s. I don't know why anybody would want to be a marathon swimmer. And I'll tell you why. Cold water, 54 degrees. They put grease on their bodies because it's a long distance. So to keep warm, grease gets in their eyes. In one particular race, Isidore couldn't follow who was behind him because he only had one eye. He just kept watching the lane in front of him. Marvin Nelson, who was probably the greatest marathon swimmer, who won several awards, he didn't make it one race because he was exhausted. So in some of the marathon swims, 3 or 4 people only made it. And I'm so proud that Isidore, as the mayor indicated, finished in the top 3 4 times. At 17 years of age, he was in a race with 409 swimmers, and he finished 4th. Most of them never got to the finish line. So we're very lucky. Isidore went to DeWitt Carter School. They lived on Athol Street in Port Colborne. We always kidded about that name, but that's another story. He had a brother, Henry, who was killed in World War II, 28 years of age. Plus, he's got a whole bunch of sisters and cousins and all that. But Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you very much. Jen, for the work you do, it's very appreciated. And going back, if it wasn't for Port Colborne, I wouldn't have been in municipal government for 43 years. So Bob Sones, Art Stead, I owe my life to them. So thank you.
Steve. Thank you, Fred. And at this time, if I could have Coach Laura come up and speak about our recipient and tell everybody who that recipient is.
Thank you very much. Our recipient this year is Ebony Fairchild, and we knew right from the beginning this year that she would be our recipient for the Sponder Award. There was no question in our mind how kind she is, how caring, what a wonderful role model she is, being one of our senior swimmers. Not quite 17, younger than that even, but we are very pleased, and we congratulate you, Ebony. Thank you. Please come up.
Thank you, Emily. No, that's yours. That's going in the trophy case.
Oh, okay,
at the valet, so everybody can see your name that's on it. But we do have a plaque that you can take home, presented to Ebony Fairchild, recipient of the City of Port Colborne Isidore Sponder Memorial Trophy for 2025, recognizing in you the same generous and competitive spirit and dedication to the sport of swimming as personified by Isidore Sponder. Signed, Mayor William Steele. That's yours.
Thank you.
You want to say it? You want to say it? You want to say it? Want to say it here? No? Okay. So at this time, we're going to go up front and we'll take some pictures. And we thank, again, Fred for coming this evening, Ebony for a great job, and again, congratulations on behalf of all of council and the citizens. And Coach Lohr, keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Our next presentation this evening is our grants program. If I could have councillors Aquilina and Hoyle come forward. Sure. The Grant Allocation Committee meets twice a year to review applications for community grants. The grant program started in 2001 with proceeds from the sale of Port Colborne Hydro to Canadian Niagara Power. There are 5 members who serve on the committee. Our committee chair is B. Kenny, and Brenda Hames is the citizen member of the committee. Both B and Brenda are away, so they will not be joining us this evening. And as I said, councillors Monique Aquilina and councillor Tim Hoyle and myself serve as council's representatives. To the grant recipients, please stay for all the presentations so we can take a group photo at the front after all our announcements. The committee allocates funding to local nonprofit groups and organizations based on council-approved criteria. The deadline for applications to the second allocation of 2025 was June the 30th. The committee met in August to discuss the merits of the applications and to decide which applicants will receive all or part of their funding requests. We wish we could grant funding to everyone who applies, but of course that's impossible. For the first round, grants were allocated to 5 community groups and organizations. In the second and final round of 2025, we're pleased to present checks to representatives of 6 organizations across Port Colborne. This time, I'm going to call on Councillor Aquilina to make the first presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Steele. Can I have Franklin Searle, please, come to the podium? Franklin Searle is the Director of Development and Communications for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Niagara. Franklin, on behalf of the Grant Committee and Council and City Council, I'm happy to announce an allocation of $4,600 to Big Brothers and Big Sisters for 3 streams of recruitment in the Big and Little Partnership. The three streams are one-to-one matches, one-to-one school mentoring, and school group programs. So just as a public service announcement, we do have littles that are in Port Colborne that are waiting for matches. However, we don't have any bigs that are on the volunteer list for Port Colborne to match with them. So if everybody who's watching and listening tonight, please consider volunteering as a big brother or big sister to make a difference in the life of a little brother or little sister. It's a commitment of only a few hours per month, but it has a huge impact on the children that you're serving. So Franklin, there you go. And if you'd like to say a few words.
Perfect. Okay. I prepped some just in case. Okay. So, kind of mentioned a lot of the things that I just said, but good evening, Mayor Steele, members of council, and the grant committee. On behalf of Big Brothers Big Sisters, I want to sincerely thank you for this support through this grant. We are honored to receive this investment in the children and youth of Port Colborne. These funds will allow us to do 2 important things: to continue providing mentoring programs in Port Colborne, which positively impacted 34 children and youth in 2024, and to focus on recruiting new volunteers so that we can match the 9 youth who are currently on our wait list in this community. As you mentioned, we currently have no one in the process of becoming a big sis or becoming a mentor. So this investment will help us change that by focusing on intentional recruitment in this municipality and surrounding areas. We are truly grateful for your commitment for helping young people in Port Colborne reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Franklin. Can I now have Stephanie Thompson of Birchway? Stephanie, on behalf of City Council and the Grant Committee, I'm happy to present an allocation of $4,000 to Birchway. So the $4,000 is going to pay for 26 nights at the 45-bed shelter for one woman and her children, and if necessary, to help escape the violence and abuse from her partner. So thank you for always, serving our members of Port Colborne and our families. And I've been told that you've been volunteering at Birchway for a very long time.
15 years.
Yes. So we want to thank you for your service. And please say something if you'd like.
Mayor Steele and members of City Council, and especially I'd like to thank the members of the Grant Allocation Advisory Committee for this grant. Unfortunately, there seems to be a greater need for shelter for abused women and children, and it costs us roughly $150 per night per person to provide shelter and counseling to them. So this is very much appreciated, and we also appreciate your support for the past years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Aquilina. At this time, if we can call Councillor Hoyle forward.
Will Maureen Cooper please come forward for Community Connect? That's okay. That's all right.
There we go.
Morgan, on behalf of the city and the grant committee, I'm pleased to announce an allocation of $4,500 to your organization, Community Connect. Community Connect is a new organization. It's growing quickly. The $4,500 grant will help expand inclusive participation by creating an additional bocce league for more participation in sports for special needs clients and severely underserviced areas.
Sure, I didn't prepare anything, but as our community as a whole continues to grow towards acceptance and inclusion, there is still a significant group in our community that is traditionally left out. That would be the people who cannot modify their needs to meet a conventional program or conventional environment. So our mission is to improve individual and community health as a whole by creating what I call truly inclusive environments, which means we take responsibility for modifying the environment to include as many people as possible so that anyone who wants to participate can participate. And the bocce program in Port Colborne is 40 or more years old at this point, and I like to celebrate the Port Colborne Bocce Club and their historical and I call them the very first truly inclusive environment. And when deinstitutionalization was happening, that community in that building with that sport was the very first to open their doors to everyone who had an interest in playing bocce, and that tradition continues today. This grant will allow us to continue growing that program where we have added recreational bocce tournaments, which are open to anyone who would like to have a competitive experience. So thank you very much. Mayor Steele, City of Port Colborne, this will make a huge difference for us. Can you sit down?
Okay. We'll call you back up for a photo.
I now call upon Steve Ward, President of Port Colborne District Conservation Club. He's not with us today. Anyway, on behalf of the City Council and Grant Committee, I am pleased to announce an allocation of $1,800 to help cover costs of washroom upgrades in the clubhouse of the Conservation Club.
Thanks, Councillor. Friends of Roselawn is next. On behalf of Council and the Grant Committee, I'm pleased to announce an allocation of $1,100 to the Friends of the Roselawn Center. And Kennerly, how are you? Good, good. The grant will pay for tools to help restore and maintain Roselawn, a century-old mansion where there are always things to be fixed. With the $1,100 heritage, volunteers will not need to borrow tools or bring their own personal equipment from home. Tools will belong to the Roselawn Center. To restore and maintain is the second mandate of the Friends of Roselawn. Your check. Thank you. Say a few words.
Thank you. On behalf of the Friends of Roselawn, I'd like to thank Mayor Steele and councillors and the grant committee for considering us, and we will put this money to good use to take care of the assets of the city and to serve the people of Port Colborne and Niagara. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Nick Kilbing here this evening? So Nick is the parliamentarian for the Port Colborne Operatic Society. We have a grant allocation of $4,400 for a portable sound system the Operatic Society can use for venues outside of their regular stage home at Lakeshore Catholic High School. Rather than rent or borrow audio equipment, now they will have their own sound system for more public events and outreach. And we thank Nick, who unfortunately couldn't be here, and all the cast and crew of the Operatic Society for 80 years of fantastic musical theater since 1945. Okay, so those that are here, if the grant recipients come up front, we'll grab a photograph, please. Oh, that's okay. Just throw it. Yeah, I'll give them to Gail. Go ahead. Squeeze in. Go right here. All right. Yeah. Got everybody? Face the camera. Big smiles.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish you had a library. I know. Me too. I'll get it back. Yeah.
Okay, Council. Bruno. Councilor Bruno. You certainly are. Next, we have the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan Update. If I could have Greg Jouette, Manager of Recreation and Tourism, come up to the podium to provide the introduction of our speakers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have McQueen, Galloway and Associates here to present the first phase of our engagement. So our community members may recall at the farmers market or at the high school, we had engagement in June in the spring, and they're going to present us on just an overview of that engagement. So thank you for being here, and then you're welcome.
Welcome.
Greg, do I click? Sure.
Make life easier.
Good evening, Council. It's great to be here today to provide an update on the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan. My name's Tracy McQueen with MGA, and my colleagues Andy Goldie and Jennifer Reynolds are with me tonight. Also supporting this project is Michelle Nickel with the GSP group, who is doing the mapping for us, as well as Byron from Watson and Associates, who will be very much involved when we come to the recommendation stage of this project. But today is just part of the deliverable for the Parks and Recreation plan. It was to report back to council. If you recall, we had interviews with many of you, as well as others, and I'm just going to share them with you tonight. So this sort of illustration shows the different methods that and groups that we engaged with so far. We've talked to user groups who participated in our sports user interview, event users, provided feedback, community leaders, and, like I said earlier, staff as well as members of council. We also did a youth workshop at the high school, and we went into 2 classes of their careers and civics, grade 10s. We also conducted interviews with organizations such as the YMCA, the Conservation Authority, and the school board. And like Greg mentioned, we were part of the farmers market and did some pop-ups and a survey there. So what did we do with all this information and data? That right now we currently have them grouped into what we are calling emerging directions or themes. And those are facilities, indoors and outdoors, programs and events, recreation, sports-specific feedback that we received, policies and agreements, community needs, equity and public education, staffing and organizational structure, and planning for the growth were the themes that came out in the first phase of engagement. So let's look at these sort of individually. Indoor facilities. We definitely heard in our interviews that Bethel and Shirkston are nearing the end of their life cycle, that there is some gaps in what we call soccer facilities or rectangular facilities, whether it be indoor or turf. Outdoors, we had varying viewpoints were expressed. Some felt that there was enough parks, while others suggested that there may be too many parks of similar size or function. Along the waterfront, there was definitely strong support and expressed for waterfront development. There was questions raised about how the marina and Nickel Beach could contribute financially to capital cost. Valet and the YMCA. Overall, the comments we heard is the partnership is very successful, but there was some concerns expressed in our early phases of engagement about high cost of membership, whether there was limited or lack of diversity in programming. Challenges with customer service, particularly could be confusing for the residents when accessing the center, community center, YMCA and the city, and getting the information from there. Programming and events, we saw that we received some information or some feedback regarding that primarily in Port Colborne, the events are the programs. That whether they could be supported into like a classification system, was there maybe too many events that were taking place? And could there be tools that through this Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan, could there be tools to strengthen the event delivery and planning by creating event forms or templates, having an annual calendar? Inclusivity was also shared with us, was emphasized with some interest in including Indigenous as components part of the events. There was a strong concern with user fees identified as a barrier for both residents and community groups. Suggestions that could we apply user fees for extra services such as equipment, setup, for staff overtime. Interesting enough, there was interest to review and strengthen the city grant program, which has just happened earlier. So great, to improve access and participation. The use of partners, like I said, I had this earlier today. Stakeholders expressed broad support for continuing the YMCA partnership for recreational service delivery, recognizing its effective and its cost savings and cost efficient. However, like we mentioned earlier, there was calls for the YMCA to expand and have a lower cost for users if applicable, or different types of memberships. In addition, there's also interest in leveraging other partnerships, such as the library and the museum, and to be able to provide more low-cost programming, particularly in areas such as what we call STEM programs, youth programs, and senior programs. We also received highlighted feedback on several facilities and organizational needs. You were with me earlier. Interesting enough, additional bocce courts were desired, with suggestions that the current space could be reconfigured to accommodate them. There was concerns about the gym standards at the YMCA, including equipment specifications such as the basketball hoops and the heights of them. And there was always the pickleball demand. With requests for expanding access, there is interest in the group in forming a not-for-profit group in order to sort of formalize their needs and their activities. No engagement would be complete without ICE being talked about. So there was talk about, with the ICE users, the tournament schedule in February was flagged for review, with some groups suggesting the city explore more morning ICE for the minor hockey groups, as well as using more daytime ICE for shinny, stick and puck, and opportunities that would be more tailored to the shift worker. Cycling and trail use, we heard feedback. Stakeholders expressed a desire to expand connections along the South Coast Trail system, but also at the same time increasing awareness of those trail options. There were suggestions including adding youth-oriented fitness and natural play features along the trails to broaden the appeal, encourage more active use by that group. On policies and agreements, stakeholders identified several agreements that could be benefit from further clarification or review. We've mentioned the YMCA agreement, particularly regarding roles, staffing, and cost sharing, as well as agreements with the district school boards and related to space use and maintenance responsibilities. There was the Seaway agreements with an emphasis on public education and opportunities for collaborative improvements. Regarding strategic planning tools, there was definitely a call for understanding how new planning tools could guide future decision-making. Suggestions included creating a park use matrix, an event strategy aligned with the park amenities, and looking at long-term capital and operational financial plans to support growth. On community needs and equity and public education, education was really very interesting. There was community members that wanted to ask why some parks are naturalized and others aren't, and how is the budget and the tax breakdown related to parks, and level of service expectations and the cost implications. Inclusivity and access, improve park accessibility, and add features for all ages. Many of the youth spoke that there's nothing to do in their parks. They're looking for what we used to call risky play when we were kids, or my generation, I should round that, versus that's all gone now, and now it's kind of taking a pendulum and wanting to go back. They also wanted fitness trails and more youth components, whether that's zip lining, or just places to hang out. Sometimes it's as simple as adding Wi-Fi to the parks that can get the youth to start going to them. Increase public access to bocce, equipment loans, and non-membership fees and use. Cultural and social inclusion. Include Indigenous people and perspectives in the events and spaces. We've heard that a couple times when we were in our interview stage. And prioritize the vulnerable neighborhoods in parks and facility upgrades. So some common themes about staffing and organizational structure that, there's not an engagement that goes on that staff will not ask for additional staff, but making sure that is the right staff and that those staff have the right competencies for that position. So there was suggestions reviewing staff competencies and aligning the recruitment processes accordingly. Trying to improve internal communication and coordination across the departments was an area for improvement, and whether there could be some more cross-training in other areas. There was also a strong desire expressed to better align staff schedules to match the service demands rather than just being on City Hall hours. And many times, this is often what we relate to is the shoulder seasons when ice goes in, but grass still needs to be cut, that staff is really really stretched. Greater integration across parks, arena, and marina operations was also recommended to maximize facility use and the service delivery. There was different opinions on certain issues. Some participants supported outsourcing specific services, such as the cemetery operations, while others preferred establishing more dedicated internal teams. Just like the YMCA, there was mixed viewpoints on the YMCA for more efficient service provider compared to the municipal delivery. And then finally, on the last one, is planning for growth was a major theme. We received feedback indicating a need for larger multi-use parks to serve the new and growing communities. And there was definitely stakeholders suggesting potential investment in field turf, including, so you could have one large turf and then you could divide it into 4 smaller with the potential to be able to dome it down the way. And this would support more of the range of recreational activities. Definitely, the participants emphasized that there was an expansion or investment must be carefully aligned with both the capital and operating budgets to ensure sustainable service delivery that really met the future growth demands of Port Colborne. That's what we've heard so far. Our next steps is that we'll have a targeted online survey that will go out for the month of October, and there'll also be hard copies available at particular sites throughout Port Colborne. And then our responsibilities are to come back to staff with a draft plan November, December, and then coming back to yourselves in January with the full report. So that's an update on the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan and giving you an update on what we are calling Phase 1 of engagement. And if there's any questions, my colleagues can come up too and answer.
Thanks, Tracy and Andy and Jennifer, and I'll go to council. Questions, councilors? Councilor Bruno?
Thank you for the excellent presentation. I've got a question that isn't on the screen or isn't part of what you did. You guys do this for a living. You've done it for a while. You do it all over Ontario. You heard from all those highlighted icons in other communities. Did you notice anything different about Port Colborne compared to the ones that you've done? Anything that's stuck out, I would say, or any of you can.
Andy, would you like to talk about the acreage, parkland? There's no doubt about it, Port Colborne is in a very sweet spot. There's not many communities that have a great community center like you do for the population you have. So you're in a very fortunate, and kudos to previous councils that made that project happen. But there are a few things, as you mentioned, that we do notice.
Yeah, we do know that the council's strategic plan very much speaks about wanting to make sure our parks and recreation services are top-notch and compared to other surrounding municipalities in the area. So we spent time today looking at what the growth projections are, what are some of the population numbers that will be in the future, and making sure that we can continue to support the open space and the trail systems and facilities as forecasting those so you can include those within your development charges. So it's not just taxpayers paying for it, but it's also the new growth paying for that, and ensuring that those standards and expectations of council and the community are met in the future.
Did you want to talk about the high rate of acreage?
So in the past, Port Colborne has had a high average of parkland compared to population. So that's something as we work through the growth, we're wanting to ensure that we can continue to do that so that the standards met, parkland standards that are set out in your official plan are realistic and things that you can be ensuring that the new developers are ensuring parkland and open space is sufficient for that future growth.
Great.
Councillor?
Thank you. I really appreciate that, the standout points, because I think it sets the frame for everything going forward. So that was very important for me to ask, and I think for you to tell us very candidly. Appreciate that, especially with your background. The other thing I wanted to know about is we've been very good at doing customer, citizen, and group surveys. I mean, the last 18 months we're the survey capital of Niagara.
Yes.
But it's very good data that came back. And so I like a lot of data, and I think it can uphold council decisions and budgetary protocols and that. But the one thing I'm curious about is, because you do this all the time, how do you separate, like when you talk to those user groups, can you really discern whether that's one person's opinion in the group, or were you happy with the representation of the group? So you thought you were getting not a person's opinion who's on that board or committee, but kind of a robust, well-rounded one. And how do you glean that? And I've just got one more question when you're done with that.
Well, it's surveys produce the data, and the data helps inform the recommendations. And you're right, the hardest group to get in any kind of survey or even in any engagement is generally the people who aren't using the facilities. So through surveys, you want to make sure that, like we've had situations where the tennis group, everyone's being told to like fill out the survey, and then all of a sudden tennis is number one activity when the stats or the data and the needs assessments are saying that there could be other communities. So you rule those out. You also listen and you hear from the sports users. They have a great viewpoint of what's happening. And then the data and the needs assessment, that's why the population is so important, that we don't need continue to build another rink just to serve ice from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. There's other ways, so you have to share your information with them. So I'm not sure if I really answered your question, but it is a difficult thing, but the surveys are important. I do understand that you've had a lot of surveys with your healthcare and everything going on right now. But one thing it is, recreation usually gets a very good response from surveys. And what you really want to find in the survey is the importance of whether it's the parks or or the YMCA, and how satisfied they are. And what you want to try to achieve in the survey is that gap. So are they really important and they're satisfied with it, then great, but it's the gap that you want to achieve, and then that's where you start looking for the recommendations. So
Last one, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm concerned because you brought up the why in a number of occasions in financial and pricing. And so whether it's that issue or come to the future when you're doing citizen surveys, do you find that some of it is perhaps either lack of knowledge or education? Because I know personally, listening to the why for the last 11 years here, we know that they have a lot of geared to income, lower prices as part of their mandate, and they have a lot of stats on it. And so I want to be able to discern at the end can it be that people aren't aware of that? Mm-hmm. Or is it just that that's what they believe because it's a YMCA and they know what a full membership costs and their neighbor, right, is paying X per month. And so I don't know if in all that you're going to do, including the survey part, if you can discern anything about product knowledge or customer knowledge or how we could improve that. So in other words, it may not be that there is the problem, it is that people don't know there's a solution.
Or they never asked.
Or they never asked. Thank you.
When speaking with the YMCA in our engagement, they would say that they would support every single person if they couldn't afford to come. But many people still don't come in to ask. So there's still that barrier that they don't walk through because they don't want to ask about that. But you'll have that in everything. You'll have that in hockey as well. I can't register for hockey, or I don't want my children to play hockey because of the cost. But as you saw tonight, there's groups that they could connect with, and they could be programs that are put in place for that affordability to improve inclusivity and equity.
Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quick, I think you said, but I just want to be clear. So right now you've done phase 1, the survey will be phase 2, and then a final report will be coming back in January?
Correct.
Is that, okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Are you putting it on your Christmas list?
Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. I was intrigued when you talked about risky parks. I've been beating that drum for years. Was that something that you heard out there from the public, or is it just something that, in your experience, should be put in?
Both. So definitely in the youth engagement, their point would be there's nothing to do in the parks. And then when you ask them, what do you want? And Olga attended the engagement with the youth. We had everything from zip line to improving the parks, water parks. You rule that out, but they just want to be engaged. They just want to have fun and hang out. But a playground that's designed for children under the age of 8 isn't, other than the picnic table to hang out around, isn't going to entice them to stay at the park.
Sure. So, Mr. Mayor, with the risky parks, I think that would tie in nicely with the health committee, why we're trying to keep our UCC. So if we had a lot more risky parks, it could help us out. I'm just thinking ahead, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
You know what? Pickleball just will keep your UCC just fine.
Further questions? Seeing none, again, Tracy, Andy, and Jennifer, thank you. Greg, thanks for being our lead as far as staff goes. I know Councillor Bagg, you had some questions, but we'll have him get in contact with you at a later time so you can get those answers. So
thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Look forward to the finalization of this. So next is our Mayor's Report, our community concert series sponsored by Asahi Kasei Battery Separator Canada. has been the go-to Friday night event in the park this summer. We're so pleased everyone's enjoyed the variety of music that we've been able to provide. And we're calling all Swifties and fans of Taylor Swift. Are you ready for it, Port Colborne? We have an awesome tribute show. 3 sleeps from today, Councillor Aquilina. Taylor's Story closes this summer concert series with much-loved music of Taylor Swift, that being this Friday evening, September 12th. We're grateful to Asahi Kase for their sponsorship and to everyone who comes out to enjoy music live at the lake. Port Colborne Wave Girls Hockey will have a barbecue in the park this Friday, and they're starting at 6 p.m. They ask you to use cash only, please. The Wave will also have face painting, Taylor Swift-inspired stickers, and all kinds of other fun things. We've invited all the city's incredible volunteers to join us at the concert Friday as part of our volunteer appreciation celebration. And I will never stop saying this, Port Colborne is so lucky we have the best volunteers in the world. Our events don't happen, or any event within the city, whether it's city run or not, doesn't happen without the great core of volunteers. Council and staff thank our volunteers for another amazing summer of events. We thank you for your time, energy, and your commitment. Volunteers make Port Colborne a better place, and because of you, that we dedicate the final community concert to all of you, our volunteers. As usual, admission to the community concert is free. However, we are grateful you attend with donations of non-perishable food for Port Care's Reach Out Center. At the Cavaners concert a few weeks ago, we collected 1,609 pounds of food and several $100s in cash donations towards Port Cares, and we think that's awesome. But let's try this Friday night to break both those records. Let's get over 1,600 pounds of food and get as many donations in dollars as we can. And we thank everybody for their attendance and their donations at our Friday concerts. The Terry Fox Run is an annual non-competitive charity event held around the world to raise money for cancer research in commemoration of Canadian cancer activist Terry Fox and his Marathon of Hope. With little fanfare, Terry Fox started in St. John's, Newfoundland in April of 1980. I was 18. Enthusiasm grew as he made his way with a prosthetic leg, running about 42 kilometers, 26 miles a day, through the Maritimes, across Quebec and Ontario, stopping in towns and cities along the way. On September the 1st, after 143 days, 5,373 kilometers, or 3,339 miles, Terry was forced to stop running outside of Thunder Bay because cancer had appeared in his lungs. An entire nation was stunned and saddened. He passed the following June in New Westminster, British Columbia, at the age of 22. And his last words were, "If I don't make it, the Marathon of Hope must continue." And it has for the last 45 years. For many Canadians, Terry Fox is the greatest national hero. In Port Colborne, Nancy Salvage has coordinated Terry Fox events for more than 20 years. She's shaved her head 19 times, even set a Guinness World Record when she recruited the most shaved heads at one time. Councillor Badaway, you might have been part of that. Nancy and her team have a great day planned in H.H. Knoll Lakeview Park Sunday starting at noon. The head shave gets underway at 12:30. Run or walk or bike, and that starts at 1, and they're having a foam party starting at 3 o'clock. So for all the young kids looking for something to do, they can come down to the foam party at Knoll Park. Join the Friends of Roselawn Centre to celebrate local arts and culture with an art auction featuring one-of-a-kind treasures by local artists in honor of Ontario Culture Days. The event, entitled Presenting, opens Friday, September 19th, and runs through to October the 3rd at the Roselawn Centre on Fielden Avenue. Roselawn is open from 1 to 3 Wednesdays to Saturdays. Council and staff are asking for ideas and opinions from residents on ADUs, which are additional dwelling units. And these are self-contained residential units with its own kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping area. An ADU may be in an existing home or a separate building on the same property. ADUs include basement apartments, in-law suites, coach houses, laneway houses, garden suites, and accessory dwellings. According to the city's current bylaws and policies, a single ADU is permitted on any lot containing a single detached, semi-detached townhouse or street townhouse dwelling. And we need to increase the number of ADUs according to provincial and federal mandates, which are tied to funding. That's why we need to update our policies and bylaws, and why we're asking for your opinions and ideas. We have a survey we ask you to complete, and we have an open house a week from this evening on Tuesday, September the 16th at the Valet Center in the Golden Puck Room. The survey is available online until Tuesday, September the 23rd on our city website, and printed copies are available at City Hall, the Valet Health and Wellness Center, and our Port Colborne Public Library. I will join city staff as we don our pirate gear and sailor suits for the annual United Way fire truck pull Thursday, September the 18th. Our well-dressed crew will work together to pull a 12-ton fire truck 100 feet. Our team joins municipal teams from across the region to raise money and awareness for United Way. Members of the YMCA will be happy the old metal lockers in the family change room have been replaced. The new Port Colborne blue lockers will last a lot longer and are protected from rusting. YMCA and city staff have already heard many great comments about the upgrades, and council thanks you for your positive feedback. Our annual tree giveaway on the last Saturday of the month at the Valley Health and Wellness Center. It'll be first come, first served, starting at 11 a.m. on Saturday, September the 27th. We'll have 500 one-gallon potted saplings to give away, limit of 2 per person. Port residents may choose from a variety of native species. The city has partnered with the FCMP Outdoor to offer 50-gallon rain catcher rain barrels for $45 each, limit 2 per household. You'll need to purchase your barrel or barrels online before September 27th and pick them up that day between 9 a.m. and noon. All the information is on our city website. You'll need to prove Port Colborne residency for the tree giveaway and the barrel sale. And this concludes my report this evening. Councilors, any questions? Perfect. Next up is our regional councilor, Councilor Badaway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, today we received at Public Works an update on the 2026 Water and Wastewater Master Servicing Plan. The Master Servicing Plan is proceeding in accordance with the Municipal Engineers Association Class Environmental Assessment, the EA process, for master plans. The master plan is a comprehensive document, as members of council recognize, that guides the development and maintenance of water and wastewater infrastructure across the entire region of Niagara. This, as you know, to ensure safe, efficient, and cost-effective solutions, infrastructure planning must be closely integrated with land use planning and infrastructure investment, in particular to growth areas such as here in the city of Port Colborne. So why is that important? I know it's not the most exciting thing to talk about. It could be sometimes dry, talking about pipes that you never see, water and wastewater, but very important, especially for the city of Port Colborne, because of the growth that's now occurring both industrially as well as residentially. I guess the biggest part of the importance of this, and I think the CAO can relate, because I'm sure it's something that he speaks with very often with staff and probably just as often with members of council, is the disciplined long-term capital planning. Budgeting process is attached to that. Every year you're going through it, you're about to go through it again, but the discipline, especially with council as well as the staff, to ensure that that capital and the capital planning and budgeting is done so to take into consideration the alleviation of pressure on the taxpayers and the water bills. This, as well as the updated development charges bylaw, that will in fact, as I just stated, eliminate related costs on property taxpayers, those costs being growth related, and water bills, and disciplined asset management. That also attaches itself to your official plan, and of course that being your secondary plans to ensure that all the assets that the city is actually managing are being dealt with throughout its life cycle in a responsible manner, as well as eventually the replacement of those assets. And once again, that will ensure that today's costs don't land on future generations. So as the region moves forward with that, not only region-wide, but in partnership with the city of Port Colborne, one of the projects that we spoke about at the last meeting was the Niagara region carrying out its Schedule B municipal class environmental assessment under the EA Act to study the possibility of building a new large sewer trunk and sewage pumping station here in the city of Port Colborne to better transport wastewater to the Port Colborne Seaway Wastewater Treatment Plant. As I'm sure you all know, I know Councillor Bagu knows, I know Councillor Bruno knows, that the study will review 5 sewer catchment areas. These areas being west of the Welland Canal, including Elm Street, Arena area, the West Side Arena area, Union, Omer, and Steele. And the goal is to find a long-term solution that, quite frankly, goes back quite some time. Councillor Bruno, Councillor Steele, I think Councillor Bodner and a few others that have been here for a long time will recognize some of the challenges that we've had. Councillor Bruno and Councillor Dench, especially in your ward, the Bartok area, the Omer area, the Franklin area, the Oast area, and the list goes on with respect to sewer surcharging. So we're looking at eliminating that sewer pumping stations that aren't needed, as well as maintaining and on a maintenance plan, and eliminating the sewer surcharge from station issues that we've experienced in the past. I'll say to Councillor Hoyle and to Councillor Bogart as well, there's another EA going on in the second concession, as well as Chippewa area, Councillor Equilina and Councillor Bodner, to look after probably one of the biggest infrastructure projects that the Port Colborne has embarked on in its history, which is the servicing of, and which this is going to add to, the servicing of the east side lands from the AK property, the Asai Kasei property, all the industrial lands, as well as the new residential lands in the corner of 140 and Highway 3, which I'll get back to in a second. Moving forward, we're looking at a few imminent capital projects. One being the water wastewater project for the Port Colborne City Hall area and force main upgrade. This is a design and construction for the replacement of existing cast iron force mains within the PVC force main. Right now it's in design. We're looking at soon, if not within weeks, it'll be at 100% design. And with that, the next steps are to go to tender, and we're going to get underway on that immediately. As I mentioned earlier, the biggest project that we've embarked on, and I've been fortunate because I was, I guess, involved in this from now 2 chairs. One of my former life as an MP and now as a regional councillor, is the East Side Force Main, Barrack Road Water Main Detailed Design, which is the Project Eagle project. And that being the crossing beneath the Seaway Canal to facilitate development of the east side lands, that being the Asai Kasei lands, as well as the entire industrial park lands from the Asai Kasei lands south, so that you now have a serviced industrial park. This will be a full force main partnership with the city of Port Colborne, but as well, the federal government. That was the $20 million that I had brought in before Christmas, and the $11 million that you just got in from the province, and of course the partnership with both the region and the city of Port Colborne. So it was a true partnership between actually 4 levels of government, including the region and the city. That right now is going to be going to construction soon, but it's in tender process right now. And with that, we're looking at, as I said earlier, the growth of water, wastewater, sustainability, and quite frankly, not, again, falling on the property taxpayers or the water bills. The next steps is award and construction. We're looking forward to that. And the last thing I want to say on that project, and congratulations to members of council, is the growth you're going to get from the residential side as well. So this isn't just servicing one of Port Colborne's, if not Port Colborne's biggest industrial developments, but it's also servicing one of the city of Port Colborne's biggest residential developments, that being on the corner of Highway 3 and the 140. So kudos to you, kudos to staff. I know you guys worked hard on this. I think I was on the phone when I was an MP with Gary almost weekly and trying to, see where this was. And we finally got the $20 million to you before Christmas. The province followed suit with their $11 million, and of course the money that you guys in the region put in. So kudos to all of you, great work. And now we're seeing the building go up, and hopefully we'll see homes going up in short order because of those investments. The last thing, Mr. Mayor, I want to bring forward is to Councillor Hoyle. Councillor Hoyle, to his credit, approached me about 2 weeks ago, about establishing a new transit stop on the east side of the city of Port Colborne. Something I don't believe exists right now on the east side of the city of Port Colborne, and therefore is well overdue. So, Councillor Hoyle, I have informed the Public Works Committee as well as Public Works Department, but more importantly, the Transit Committee. And they are going to be looking at your request. You can be rest assured I'll be on that and we'll make sure we make it happen. You also, and thank you, you've also given me a few other future stops that you have desire for. But by all means, the east side of Port Colborne does and is overdue to have some transit stops, especially with the canal, the bridges. I'm sure the inconvenience when those bridges are up and people are trying to get over this side of the canal. But let's face it, it could be a far walk from some parts of the east side. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, and I'll make sure we make it happen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions to the regional council? Great, thanks, Vance. Next up is our consent agenda. We have one item being lifted, 11.3D, the Veterans Crosswalk. All the other items haven't been lifted. Are there any other items? So if I could have Councillors Elliott and Bruno move that council hereby approves the listed consent items on September 9th, 2025 council agenda, that the consent items be approved on recommendations as contained therein. These are under 11.1, 11.2 A to C, 11.3 A, B, and C, 11.4 A. All in favor? That's carried. So the only item that we've pulled this evening is, let me pull this up. Is the Public Works Department Report 2025-187 be received, and that the Director of Public Works be directed to upgrade the Clarence Street pedestrian crossing line painting to match the aesthetics as outlined in Appendix A using regular road paint for a cost of $3,100 to be funded from the Public Works operating budget before October 18th, 2025. If I could have Councillors Bagu and Bruno move that. Is that fine, Councillors? And then I have Councillor Bagu who asked this to be pulled. We also have Alex Vazzari, the first vice, right, Alex? Second vice president. I knew you were right up there. Second vice president for the Legion. He's back. He gave us the presentation at our last meeting. And quite frankly, staff, thank you for getting this back so quick. Councillor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting me lift this item. Lately, it seems like the legions across Ontario have been approaching the municipalities, and I watched a few council meetings in other municipalities, Mr. Mayor, and everybody's in a time crunch, just like we are. And I'm glad to see the staff report is what it is, and I think there is also room for improvement by watching the other ones, how the Legion can work with, because ours is under the BIA area. Maybe in the future we could work with our downtown BIA, or ideas on sponsorship, and let them help you also, since you're in their area. And also our staff coordination through the BIA, Mr. Mayor, could be a big asset for the Legion, and get other sponsors involved in this, and maybe eventually, Mr. Mayor, we'll get other groups. They're going to want something to this effect. So just for staff to be aware, we may have to have a policy one day where it affects this. But Alex, I do understand there is some sort of funding agreement. I'll let you make the announcement. How's that?
Welcome, Alex.
Yes, thank you. So the Legion is agreeable to helping fundraise for some of the costs associated with doing the crosswalks. So it wouldn't be now. For example, Remembrance Day is like our Canal Days. We're like full on. So after that, we'd be very open to working with the city and doing fundraising activities to help mitigate some of these costs.
Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Alex. I really appreciate it. I think the citizens of Port Colborne, the ratepayers, they're going to see what you really are, and they're going to contribute quite a bit. So I don't think you're going to have a problem in the future, Mr. Mayor. So thanks again, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Just before I go to other councillors, I got a question. Do we need an amendment if we want to allow staff, give them permission to move forward with regards to speaking and just doing that funding agreement with the Legion, or can that be a friendly amendment to this? How do you want to deal with that?
So it's part of the operating budget. So that the cost
So councillors, with regards to the question from Councillor Bagu, we will need an amendment just to add that we approve of staff negotiating with the Legion and working forward as they move forward. We can upfront the cost for this, it's in the staff report, but then there could be some funds coming back to us to help replenish that fund, and then as we move forward with future asks with regards to that area, which we can get into a minute. But if I could have the original movers, are you all right to put that on as an amendment? You fine with that, Councillor Bruno? Okay, so we'll vote on the amendment first. So again, it's giving staff the ability to move forward. They don't have to bring it back here. They can do it with regards to the $3,100 and whatever the Legion is going to be doing their fundraising, obviously after Remembrance Day. So any questions on that? Yeah, Councillor?
I don't know if you wanted it from when the amendments like finally read out. I guess I was a bit concerned that I think we learned at Vail, this much smaller scale. It's a lot harder to raise money after the project's done and somebody else has paid for it. And then you go out and sell bricks and all that stuff, and it doesn't have that. And the other thing I'm concerned about is, have we given enough clarity to the region, like to talk about what they had and what they might do? And yet there may be a second ask to do a second one. I just don't want it to get churned around that then there's the next ask, or there's no anticipated goal as to how much would come from the Legion, because they might ask the BIA. And I didn't know maybe it's not tonight, but if there's just some targets everybody could shoot for. I mean, in the ideal world, they raise everything. We fronted the project and that's it. But I'm not so sure I'd like to see like every last dollar the region has in their reserve go to this. So I don't, maybe I should ask Alex, I don't know if we're leading you into like a dark corner with no goal. I know you're wanting to give, but we're really not telling you, we'd appreciate a third or, whatever. So maybe you could help us a bit.
So that's where it'll come down to costs. So we'd want to work with the city on, well, what type of crosswalk are we looking at? What type of paint? Are we just going to do road paint? And that gives us a better idea. Like, for example, if it costs, $100,000, that's, okay, well, we're not going to be able to, we will never be able to get you $100,000. But if it's costing maybe $5,000 or $10,000, we can definitely do something with regards to that. So we're looking forward to working with the city on this project and future projects in relation to crosswalks and different activities that the city has in mind. And once we have a cost, we can then work towards an agreement with fronting half of the cost through our fundraising efforts. I don't know if did that answer your question somewhat? Or?
I guess I'm just looking that you're not feeling uncomfortable that it's just kind of loosey-goosey here and how much, is really anticipated coming from you guys. And at the same token, I didn't want sort of to drain, you need reserves, things are tight. And you know that story and what all legions are going through. I was just hoping a little more clarity on that. But if there's potential ask for, something down the road, maybe it'll all come out in the wash. But I just wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable with what we're leaving kind of open-ended. Alex?
So for the $3,100 for us, that's we can work with that. So we can help front half of that through our fundraising efforts. But so that's why we just need the cost, and when we work with the city, we'll know what we have to fundraise and we can come to an agreement.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, in essence, Councillor, I think what we're asking is a little bit of delegated authority with staff. It's $3,100, it's not a lot. In his presentation in their last meeting, they had a higher number that they looked at. So I think just on this one, I think moving forward, what may happen in the future that based on what happens after this one crosswalk is finished, we can tighten some of that stuff up and they can come back with an actual number when they go out and fundraise. But I think to get this going, get it on, if that's all right. Further questions? On the amendment only, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. So back to the motion as amended. Any further questions? So just before I go to the vote, so in essence, for those that are watching and those that are in our gallery, The Legion came forward with basically 4 asks. One was 3 crosswalks in the downtown core, and then one out on Sugarloaf by the cenotaph. That crosswalk can happen because of the provincial regulations through the Ministry of Transport. It has to be a controlled intersection, that area isn't. And then downtown, because of future work that's going to be done at that end of Clarence Street, we don't want to go in and spend a lot of money and have them raise money and then go in and dig it up. As Alex and I talked about earlier, that's not the best thing to do, but this is a temporary fix for their anniversary, gets them on the board for this year, then we can move forward as that construction comes. I think staff did a great job on getting the cost down as much as possible, because I think we had a number of about 14,000 at our last meeting as a guesstimate. So I think it's a good outcome for right now, and then once that area is rehabilitated, and then working with them on the other 2 at that point. So anyways, all those in favor? Again, unanimous. Thank you, council. And thank you, Alex. We're on to staff remarks. Madam Clerk, anything this evening?
Nothing this evening.
Great. Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Council. I think everybody's aware we're doing a volunteer firefighter recruitment process here in Port Colborne. We've had tremendous attention brought forward to that. Anybody interested? portcolborne.ca. All the information's there. Also in the month of October, we will be out in specific neighborhoods doing a Alarms for Life program, providing smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms to citizens during the month of October. Just wanted to provide you that update.
Thank you, Chief Double. Mr. Shapowski.
Yes, through your worship, we wanted to start off with our 2025 Bridge Rehabilitation Program, which includes Lakeshore Road East, passing over the Wignell Drain, and Lakeshore Road West, passing over the Eagle Marsh Drain. The Lakeshore Road East work has been awarded to Rankin Construction, and it's actually been already completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The work included concrete deck repairs, abutment repairs, railing upgrades, and new guide rail. The Lakeshore Road West work was awarded to Anthony's Excavating and is currently underway. The work involves concrete deck repairs, expansion joint replacement, guide rail replacement, curb repairs, and the relocation of the concrete sidewalk to the lakeshore side of the bridge to match up with the promenade walkway that's there now. This summer, Council expedited the 2026 water main lining program so it would be completed a year ahead of schedule, resulting in a savings of $120,000 in capital costs. That work has now started and will be completed by the end of November. Staff will be exploring the potential of having the contractor work on Saturdays to ensure the project is completed within a timely manner and before the cold weather hits. Residents on Schofield and Hampton Avenue will be impacted while temporary water services are brought online, minor road excavations take place, and then again when we remove the temporary servicing to put them back onto the permanent services. This work ties back to fixing the water loss issues in Port Colborne's currently facing, as directed by Council's strategic plan. Pertaining to our Welland Street Trail project, Brennan Paving has started their layout, which will be followed by road reconstruction, new asphalt trail, and a new fence. We did receive a few questions regarding the storm work in the area, as the storm sewer was replaced less than 10 years ago. The storm work that will be completed there is very minor in nature, and it's only to suit the new road elevation or the new alignment of the curb. That project will be completed by the end of November. The East Side Employment Lands project is moving at lightning speed with infrastructure along the rail corridor already installed and work now starting on Progress Drive North. And lastly, we wanted to mention that our 2025 ditching program is nearing completion with over 12 kilometers completed to date, with the remainder to be completed over the next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Just a couple of things. Earlier today, our mayor and our CAO and myself met with our new federal MP, Fred Davies. Our plan is to meet with Mr. Davies every other month to talk about city issues, city projects, perhaps some updates from Ottawa in ways that we can both work together. for him to support us and for him to support him. Also wanted to mention that the CAO and I have had a couple of conversations lately with Ian Hamilton and staff from the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority, just to get some updates on projects that they have underway here in Port Colborne. And even though you may not be able to see anything yet, they are making great progress with background studies and engineering work. So stay tuned on that. We've had some great conversations around partnerships and ways we can work together. They will be involved in the Welland Street walking trail and bike trail. So that's very positive. Also positive is the fact that our consultants who we retained to complete a hotel and event space feasibility study are wrapping up that report. Their report is indicating, based on their data, based on their engagement, that this is Port Colborne's time for our new hotel property. So they will come forward sometime this fall with that report and recommendation. But just wanted to let council know that they're wrapping up that report. We've had some very positive conversations with several hotel investors. In fact, some were here for the Canal Days weekend and had a chance to see the city and look at a couple of possible sites. Finally, just wanted to mention that, well, first off, we're all familiar with the Azure Sustainable Fuels project. I just wanted to mention that their president and founder had a conversation on Sunday with the province's, Ontario's Minister of Agriculture. It was a federal, provincial, territorial agriculture reception and meetings that were taking place in Winnipeg. So the founder and president of Azure Sustainable Fuels had a chance to meet with the provincial Minister of Agriculture to talk about the project for Port Colborne. And I just wanted to mention that the origins of this meeting came about as a result of the meetings that we had in Ottawa a few weeks ago at the AMO conference. So again, just connecting the dots. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Long. Mr. Atch?
Through the Mayor to Council, I had a great update I was going to tell you about the open house next week for the accessory dwelling units, but the Mayor covered it in his remarks. So next Tuesday afternoon.
Notes from your staff, by the way. Well-prepared staff.
Yeah, if you'd like to come out, we'll be in the Golden Puck Room.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers, anything to add this evening?
Thanks, Your Worship, and through you to Council. Yeah, we went away after the July 8th Council meeting, and we've been working diligently on the short-term accommodation bylaw. Specifically, initially was a focus on what Council directed us to look at, which was the parking provisions, the occupancy provisions, as well as how we're going to deal with refuse on site. So, you know, we did a bit of a municipal scan, and we've seen what other municipalities around us are doing to deal with those issues. And then we sort of put our thinking caps on, and we've come up with some ideas ourselves, and we're in the process of incorporating those into the bylaw. One of the other things that we've been doing as we do that is sort of stress testing the bylaw. So we sort of evaluate the outcomes that we're looking for, why we're bringing this bylaw forward. And then we work our way sort of backwards through the bylaw, look at our enforcement protocols, look at our prohibitions, and then look at the licensing requirements to make sure that, you know, in the body of the bylaw, we have the things that we need to be able to get the outcomes that we want. So that's the process we're working through right now. Sarah has been working side by side with me, and we feel that we'll be able to put forward a bylaw later this month that will satisfy what it is we're trying to accomplish.
Great, thank you. Greg?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, and to Council, just wanted to put a plug that the Port Colborne Junior B Sailors first home opener will be September 12th, so this Friday at 7 p.m. We also have our community concert, happens to be the same night as well.
Well, concert will be over in time. They can go watch the second and third period. Mr. CAO.
Thanks to the team for the great update for everybody. One, just for council, I know you've been tracking this closely. About a year ago, the Niagara region set aside some budget dollars to review the water wastewater system and how they allocate costs to the cities. And last Friday, there was a meeting, and we got the thumbs up that the Niagara region is going to start that review. So we are going to see. It will take time. I caution everybody, and we'll probably talk more as the budget progresses, but it's a start, and that review will start. So I'll keep you informed as we move forward.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Didn't miss anybody for staff? No? Okay. Councilors' remarks. Councilor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to mention the art exhibit starting, but you mentioned that, so thank you. But I want to do a shout out to Port Colborne Soccer. Their season ended, and it's kind of timely with the rec presentation that we had today. But just wanted to thank all of the players and the coaches for the season, and a special shout out to my daughter's team, which is U16, which is the highest level that we have right now. They had an undefeated season, and for the first time, Port Colborne their team was invited to the Ontario Cup semifinals. They didn't win, but they put out a good effort. And I'd like to thank their coaches, Chris Sibold and Deanna Roach, for the time and effort that they put on with the girls. Like, it's a full year. We practice in the off season as well as during the current season. And next year they'll be moving to U17. So tryouts will start next week, September 16th. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Congratulations to that team. Councilor Beauregard. Councilor Baguio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Beauregard, no report from the honeymoon, eh? That's okay. We'll get you next meeting. I got two items, Mr. Mayor, both on West Street. The first one, email us councilors received about the wire and plastic conduit damage of the wiring for the lights along West Street. Just wondering, I talked to one restaurant owner on West Street today, and he's just wondering when we can expect the power to be back on street lights.
Through you, your worship. So I was just notified today that a contractor is coming out on site tomorrow to fix it. They were aiming for next week, but they were delayed. So tomorrow they're going to be fixing the repair, which should have the streetlights back on as long as there's no unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Are we going to put something preventive measures in there so this doesn't reoccur to the same area?
Yes, through your worship. So we're looking at putting some kind of steel conduit in the certain area. There is quite a bit that is plastic though. So we're going to try to cover it with steel as best we can, but there's always the potential for that to happen no matter where there is plastic conduit, which is throughout the entire West Street essentially.
To you there. Thank you, Steve. Next item, West Street again. There's been a snorkel that parked on West Street for almost a week. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there today. It's taken up 3 parking spots. I'm just wondering why it's there. Like, are we running out of parking spots for snorkel lifts now, or?
Through you, your worship, I actually did see it while I was driving by today. So let me do a little more digging into that. I don't have an answer today, but I'll let you know tomorrow.
As long as the rent's high enough.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple of them. Glad I get the two guys there at the end. I don't know which one wants to take this question, but or both. I've had some inquiries, but it's also struck me that we did the abandoned building bylaws, and everything's gone quite well in terms of grass cutting, boarded up. That's all in place. But I've been wondering about the condition of those buildings that you can't see just from aesthetically from the outside. is there a way that we go in to see if, you know, the thing's ready to collapse, it's full of water, there's water running? Like, how do we keep up these abandoned buildings from sort of an interior perspective? Like, can you go once every 6 months or once a year? You know, if it's about to cave in, I'd rather not have it cave in and all the things that happen onto the street. If it needs to be torn down, then we get a report or the owner gets notified. What's the process once they go into that abandoned stage?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the councillor. Yeah, so either division, fire prevention, building bylaw, we have rights of entry depending on the location in the building. We have a vigorous process where we visit our abandoned or standalone buildings that are just boarded up. If there's something that we need identified to speed up a process to get into the building, just forward the address and I'll ensure that either building or bylaws or fire is taking care of the situation. But we have the ability to have the building looked at from a structural perspective as well. So if you provide us a specific address other than the ones that we get to on a regular basis, we'll be happy to check it out and get back to you.
I guess there's one, so there's not something in the bylaw that says, you know, you've done all the exterior stuff, but we're coming in once a year.
There's not a date process in the bylaw, or a number of bylaws actually, but we can certainly, we have programs, I believe, in each division that keep up to date with our vacant buildings, where we just have an inspection process.
I guess what I was concerned at is I or residents not really going to be able to tell on stuff unless water's pouring out onto the sidewalk or they see the roof starting to collapse. And I just didn't know if there was anything, I guess just let people know in a proactive way if they can keep eyes and ears for you guys. Is that really about it?
Through the mayor, yeah, that is if something specific to a vacant or abandoned building comes up, that is the process. Other, again, than the normal building inspections that we cycle through, which may not be, you know, at a time that something is occurring in the building. So notification is the way to do that.
Steve, just for you, one of the things I wanted to compliment you and your staff on is roadside cutting this year. Like I've seen a lot of areas which look like they were manicured when before they were just like swath mowed or gang mower. So great job along the roadside. I did have a specific one to ask you about. You'll recall after the Erie Street water main was replaced, there were some deficiencies there and some issues. I happened to go over it this time going from Elm to King on Union, that center manhole, like there was always talk about either reshaving or doing something there. Like if you're not aware of I think I don't know if we call it poor or deficient work by the previous contractor, but there are large bumps there on some of those intersections. And we did talk about doing something about them, but I'm not sure where that's at.
Yeah, through your worship. So we are currently at Erie Street as a whole does have base asphalt. It still needs top asphalt there. That is scheduled to be installed between October and November. The contractor doesn't have a firmed up date, but we are expecting it to take place during that time frame. And the only other thing I'll add is it just confirmed with our project manager on West Street, and that snorkel lift is to repair those conduits out there as well.
Great, thanks. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a thank you to building and bylaw and planning. There was an issue that we had on Clarence Street that was looked after, or tended to very quickly, because it may have spurred others to want to get into the same deal, which wouldn't have been the right way to go. So kudos to that department, or the combination of the department, to get those removed as quickly as, as you did. Because I drove by one day and almost drove over the center line because it was like they're gone. And it was just a matter of a couple of days that, that I had talked to Eric and how quickly you made it go away. So thank you for that. And just one other question with regards to the public open house for ADUs. Is that information for people that want to construct ADUs, or are we looking for opinions on them? Because they're basically ingrained in the province now that as a right you can have them. So I just kind of want some clarification there.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Elliott, it's both. We've got changes that we're proposing under the Housing Accelerator Fund funding that we received. So one of those initiatives is to explore options for additional ADU provisions. So that's part of what's being proposed and discussed about. We're seeking feedback on that through a survey. But we also have our building department attending, and some of the building staff who are going to talk about the permissions we have right now and how you could build an ADU in Port Colborne right now, what the process is to come in for a building permit for that, what costs might be, averages associated with building an ADU in different zones in the city, different types. So it's a little bit of both. It's, hey, here's what you can do right now, here's some costs, and here's some of the updates that we're thinking of making to our rules and regulations around ADUs. So it's hopefully a one-stop shop for anyone who's interested in our current policies, interested in building one, or curious about what the changes are going to be.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Just the way that housing is going right now with a lot of families having different members of their families live together, it will show a way to bring, maybe parents that are getting older and closer to home and you don't have enough room in your house as it stands right now that you can put an addition on, an ADU on, and have the family living closer together. So great. Looking forward to the results of that. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Hoyle?
First off, I'd like to thank staff for taking care of all my questions and over the past few weeks. They've answered everything. I do have a few things, well, it's really all the same thing. We have in our other schools, the French school area, Elizabeth, and in front of Diva, there's always cars flying through there during school time. Is there a way we can put other signage, flashing lights, something? I know the police, they do it, they go by there every once in a while, whatever, but especially Elizabeth Street coming down from the arenas and how the buses park along the one side and then the parents park along the other. They just fly right by there. And it's eventually, it was pointed out to me, and then I saw it today when I drove home that people would just fly in. It's only a matter of time for a child across the street to hit. So is there anything we can do safety-wise, the best of our ability to slow down or at least put an indication on there more?
Through your worship. So there's always different ways to try to mitigate traffic concerns, whether it's speed or excess vehicles in the area. What we would typically do before getting to that spot is do a bit of a traffic study to understand what the frequency of the traffic is, what's happening in the area. And then we'd come to the best determination of what would work to slow vehicles down in that area. Some circumstances, some mitigation efforts actually work, and some actually push back and they'll actually slow you down for a second, but then people hop on the gas very quickly again to get going. So what we could do in those areas is look at some kind of traffic study that would be completed. Typically through our traffic calming policy that we have right now that council's approved earlier this year, we would end up getting a survey back from the general area, but considering especially Elizabeth only has maybe 4 or 5 houses and a school in that general area, we could move forward with a traffic study in the area just to determine what measures would be going there. We do have a proposed development that could build out in that area on the east side. When that comes along, that would also change the entire shape of that road too, right? Where it'd be more urbanized, and that would be another opportunity to put more permanent installations in at that point.
Okay, and then through myself to the mayor, you just have NRP kind of in the arena area?
Yeah, we'll have, I mean, over the last week, they've been out, since schools have gotten back in. I had a conversation with a lady with regards to Highway 58 today, and she goes for a long walk every day, and she noticed the OPP was out ticketing people, and then she also saw the NRP in the area. So we'll ask them to do that, but they have been blitzing certain areas. Every year they do it, and they'll continue to do it, but we'll make sure we tell them. So you want Fair Street in front of DeWitt, you're saying is, or are you talking Kalali and Ferris?
Well, actually, it's Clowley and Ferris, and then it's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, yeah, I've got
Those three.
So, okay, I'll give them those two. They are out from time to time in those areas. We may not see them, but we'll make sure that they blitz them again. Perfect, thank you. Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Steve, I guess. Steve, we talked briefly on the 3 gates that have to be put up, new ones on the road ends. Can you give us an update on timing on those?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Right now, we have been working behind the scenes to get the design of the gates completed, and they are currently out being fabricated at this moment. So we are anticipating the installation in October right now. And at that point, it will take the contractor a little bit of time just to be able to put the gates in, get them secured, and then we'll be starting the process of changing the locks and the keys over with the general public in there based on the waterfront road allowance discussions that we've previously had this summer.
Okay, thank you very much. Through Mr. Mayor to Eric, I guess, the additional dwelling units that we're talking about tonight, is that only in the urban area, or can one or more be put in a rural area?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bodnar, there are changes for all areas, but the number of additional dwelling units is greater, permitting more of them in the urban area. And then we're looking at permitting one in certain agricultural areas. It depends on the area. It depends on the ability to provide services to the ADU. So if it's on municipal services, there's a greater opportunity to build more units versus if it's on private or septic system.
Sure, but people, if they're interested in the rural area, should come out and find out about
absolutely
what's in the works or how it can be done. Okay, great. One more, Mr. Mayor. I talked to the chief briefly tonight on the burning bylaw or nuisance bylaw that we're going to change. And I guess it's still in the works. Have we got an end date when that might be coming back to council? I know a couple of councilors have inquired if I was going to say something tonight, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, through the mayor. I don't have a date for you. I'll follow up with the clerk and we'll have a broader conversation about where we're going with that. Some of the issue is developing a change that affects so many people who are currently adhering to the bylaws that are in place. So we're just trying to balance positive outcomes versus the current standards. So, but I don't have a date for you.
To you, Mr. Mayor, can we capture that under the nuisance bylaw without messing up the burning bylaw? You know the problem. I think council is aware of the problem that we had. The couple were here at the last meeting thinking it was going to be then, but can we do it under the nuisance?
I can't, through the mayor, I can't give you a definitive answer with that. You would have to understand that the nuisance bylaw is a little bit antiquated in its current form and would need a total redraft as well, which will take time. So I don't have a definitive answer for you if it could be encapsulated in that without more research.
So one more question, because I really don't know, but is there something we could put in temporarily to solve the problem of what's going on with continuous burning? I don't know that. I'm not smart enough to know that, so let me know.
Through the mayor, I'll work with the clerk as well to see if there's a potential to do that, a stopgap measure until we get something finalized.
Because, Mr. Mayor, it really is, so far, one or two bad actors.
Yeah.
And I get the fact we don't want to mess up something that's been working pretty darn well, I guess. But geez, there's got to be something done. So I'm a pretty patient guy, but maybe not forever. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. And please, Counselor, never sell yourself short. You're a very smart person. We all know that, so. And certainly I'll speak with clerks and the chief and other staff too to speed this along, because we've been involved together on this issue, but you're right. This isn't something that we're all hearing about. It really seems to be that one person. But again, we want to make sure that it's for everybody and that nobody gets left behind as far as some doker next door is being a nuisance, as you would say, with what they're doing. So we'll make sure we get Stan moving on it pretty quick. Thank you, Stan. That being the end of councillors' remarks. Does any councillor have a notice of motion this evening? I know the clerks haven't heard of anything, but just making sure. Seeing none. Bylaws. If I could have councillors Beauregard and Aquilina move that the following bylaws be passed and acted as presented. Bylaw 73837425, 73847525, 73857625. Questions to the bylaws? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. So we thank everybody for attending tonight. It was great to have do the Sponder Award again, as we do annually, in recognizing Mr. Sponder, who was, as was indicated by his nephew and what Gail had provided in our notes for tonight. He was truly a superstar in his day, in that era. And then our grant recipients, we thank them for coming out this evening. And just to remind everybody that keep an eye open for the next round of grants for 2026. That'll be coming out this fall. So thank you for attending. Those in the audience, thank you for watching from home. We are now adjourned.